So good to see all your faces so brightened. Well, it's not so early, but it feels like it for a Saturday. So thank you for joining us. I am Chida Kabulo. I'll be your facilitator for today. I am a manager at Deloitte and Touche in the advisory practice, and I serve our banking and capital markets clients. And then in the Atlanta area, I help Bella with AZA and Frida with ZLA, and I also do some nonprofit things with Selfless for Africa that has a presence in Zambia, Ghana, Nigeria, and we empower young people to be the solution for troubles that they see in their communities. So it's a little bit about me. Is Mizinga on?
She is logging on right now. She
Okay.
said, let me just find out what's going on, and just hold on, that's her. Go ahead, let me call and find out what's going on.
Okay. I'm not sure how much you guys know about Mizinga, but we're really excited to have her. She's a dynamic woman and leader, and we're looking forward to hearing about how she's, managed to create lasting impressions, and also managed her brand as a woman CEO. So really, really excited to introduce her to you and have an opportunity to ask questions on how we can perfect our brand and also making lasting impressions.
Chida, did you want to play the PowerPoint slides while we wait for Ms. Mizinga to join us? Do you have them?
I do have the video though, so I'll play that.
I think we can wait on the video until she gets on. She's ready to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, just do the slides. The intro. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. While Chida's preparing the slides, did anybody else want to introduce themselves? I know we have a lot of people joining us, so if this is your first time joining us, can you please introduce yourself and just tell us about how you learned about the event?
Good afternoon. I don't know if it's afternoon there as well.
It's afternoon, Mr.
Okay, this is Kasuluwa from Zambia. So I learned about this meeting from Dr. Musoma as well. Yeah, we had met the time he came to Zambia, and since then we've been in touch. So he told me there's a good platform of people that you can network with and learn from. This is actually my second time being here. I am an accountant. Yes, I'm an accountant by profession, working for BDO Zambia. Besides that, I have an organization, though not really active, called Greeningway, which focuses on the importance that lies in the smallest amounts of money, which are ngwes, or pence and pennies, as well as how financial sustainability can be promoted together with promoting a green economy. Yes, I am also a writer and a runner.
Okay, no, thank you very much. Ms. Violet, I see you smiling, so you may want to connect with Mr. Kasuluwa. And definitely, Mr. Kasuluwa, you may also want to connect with Mr. Chipante. He's also a writer. I'm sure you two would definitely connect in that regard. So thank you very much for that. So Ms. Violet and Mr. Chipante, if you can please take note of Mr. Kasuluwa and make connections. Dr. Rodney, how are you, sir? You're on mute, sir. We can't hear you. There we go.
I'm doing good, thanks. I'll just introduce myself to those who have not met me. My name is Dr. Rodney Suwale. I'm a professor of pharmacy at Wingate in North Carolina. So it's a pleasure to be here and to be part of this event. Thanks.
Great, great. Ms. Violet, do you mind just introducing yourself real quickly? just so people
Yeah,
know what you're doing? And
absolutely. Thanks, Bella. Thanks for organizing this event. This is my second event. I heard about this event from Ruthie. She's based in Lusaka, but we've been friends for a while now. I'm based in Virginia, which is like the east coast of the US. I'm from Lusaka, Zambia, and right now I'm working on a startup that's going to focus on personal, professional, and economic development. And while smiling earlier is because part of our first pilot curriculum is actually focusing on financial management for people who are underserved and people who are new to the finance education. So I'm really excited to be part of this community and looking forward to getting to know you better. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you so much for filling in, and a fantastic good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. We're able to address the technology issues, and Mizinga Melu has joined us now. So with that said, I'm going to, first of all, share something. I hope she doesn't kill us, but share something from a video from before, and then we will go ahead and Chita will get us started. So Mizinga, don't kill us, but here goes.
Oh my God.
Yes, oh my God.
So my name is Mizinga Melu, Zambian, a mother. I am a managing director and CEO based here in South Africa. And yeah, I'm also a mother of, of two, and I'm married. That's who I am. If I look at the 5 lessons, in life, I think I would say the first one is be passionate. Be passionate at what you do, enjoy your job, just enjoy being who you are as a person. Always look out to make a difference to people. My biggest lesson is to determine success by how I made others feel, how I made others grow. Life lesson number 3, take risks. Take risks by doing different things in life that will help you grow. Be adventurous. So life lesson number 4, lean on others. You can't do it all by yourself. You have to lean on what you believe in, because you'll not be alone in the journey. Life lesson number 5 is be yourself. Play to your strengths. You are where you are because of you and because of who you are. For me, that's what it's all about. It's about people. Oh my God.
Cell phones everywhere. Would you like them to go away?
Oops.
I'm Rex Moore.
Good morning, Mizinga, and congratulations on running your first half marathon yesterday, and
Thank you
raising money for the girl child. I just was thinking how amazing it was, because growing up, I don't think in Kitwe I saw anybody running. It wasn't a thing maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey to get to that, half marathon race, and then your passion on giving back to the community?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Chita, and thanks guys for having me. I see David Cutting here, so I'm really excited to, to see some familiar faces. We go back a long way. So look, I started running about maybe 18 months ago, and it was just something that I felt I could do. I used to see all these runners, and I thought, actually, no, the president started it, because the president was like a big fan of just, promoting health. And he invited me for a few runs, and I thought, why not? And why can't we even start our own marathon as a bank? So we started our own marathon as Absa. And funny enough, it grew really, really big. The first time I think we had nearly, over 1,000 subscribers. And then COVID obviously kicked in, and this time we had over 2,000 subscribers. But it's something that I enjoy so much. I have to do it every week. It helped me with my, with my weight loss, and it wasn't really the idea, but I'm a blood pressure patient, so I needed to deal with that, and it's just worked so much. And I kind of like run once a week, but during the month I have what I call a 5x5, where I run like 5Ks for 5 days in 1 month. Does that make sense? 5Ks for 5 days continuous in 1 month. So I run, but then I do get a week where I do that. So it's been something that it's grown on me, and the marathon yesterday was amazing. The team pushed me to run 20 Ks, or the clients. So what happened is I decided that it was important for us to give back to the community. We had visited a girls' school called Chipapa somewhere, about a few minutes away from Lusaka. It's very close to the city of Lusaka, and yet the girls use pit latrines. And when we went to visit the school, we had to, we said we're going to build classroom blocks, but we didn't think about the toilets. So when they took us around to see the school, we then got to see their toilets, and they were just pit latrines. And, my heart was like, no, we need to raise money for the toilets. But then, our budget as a bank only allowed us to build classroom blocks. Nobody thinks about the toilets that the girls use. So I decided that for this run, last year I ran and I raised, about 50,000 kwacha. This year I ran, I've raised about 100,000, about 100,000 kwacha. And that is gonna go to build, that is gonna go to build toilets for 3 schools. So 3 schools will have really good, ablution blocks. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm hoping, and the client said to me, if you want us to give you more money, so I said for every kilometer I ran, you give me 1,000 kwacha. And the number of clients gave me 20,000 kwacha, meaning I had to run 20 kilometers. So
that's impressive. That
so it was really, so I'm really excited because now we're going to do a big thing building girls' toilets. And my aim is if we can have all the girls' toilets across the country, or, being proper ablution blocks, and that will really, would have achieved, right? So that's what we're going to start working on a bit at a time. So that's the running and the passion. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. So many lessons in just that story. The power of endurance and setting your mind to a certain goal. I can't believe you've only been running 18 months. And a lesson in fundraising and kind of community. I like, that you accepted the challenge from the president to be a runner and all of that. So that's really inspirational, and I love that. So Mizinga Melu, we know you as, CEO, philanthropist, first woman, CEO and MD of Standard Chartered. How would you describe yourself, or what traits would you say about yourself that most people don't kind of realize or overlook when they think of you?
Yeah, so I mean, as we're talking about first impressions on this session, I think for me it's always been, I'm always very mindful the impact that I leave to anyone that I meet. I'm extremely mindful of the fact that when you meet somebody, you should leave a lasting impression. Even if you're just meeting them at church or you are running with them. Yesterday, for example, when I was running, I met so many people for the first time. But for me, integrity is always something that is so important for me. How I show up is always important. I'm meeting you guys here for the first time. How I present myself is always important. So I'm always conscious. So when you talk about first impressions, you should always be conscious about how you live. People will see you, they will welcome you, but what's important is what you leave behind with them when you have left, the room, so to say. So that's what I'm conscious of. I come from very humble beginnings. And my dad always told me that, look, everything that you have, you can acquire, you can lose, but if you bring your whole self, and I say that in my little video that you showed, and that video, by the way, was shot a few years ago, but I still stand that you need to bring your whole self, and that's just what you can leave behind for people. So I'm a firm believer in just making sure that you just leave that powerful impression when you meet someone. So that's really who I am. And I'm always reminded about air hostesses. I love air hostesses, just because you don't know them, they don't know you, but when you meet them for the first time, it's gonna determine whether you're gonna have a great flight or not. And for them, it doesn't matter what issues they've left at home. When they meet you, they forget all that baggage. It's about you. You're welcome, madam. Here's your seat number. So for them, it's about you. So I always carry that air hostess, analogy, because that's just what takes you to the second meeting with someone. Mm-hmm.
Right. I love that. Making it about the other person is quite important. I think we all feel seen when somebody recognizes us and treats us as an individual. So I like that. So in your life, you've met a lot of people and worked with a lot of people, and testament to kind of, the strength of your relationship and your impression is, even David Cutting is here. He was telling us a little bit about himself and your history together. How do you, once you've made that impression, carry that and develop it into a meaningful relationship, and also just maintain the integrity of that relationship over the years?
Mm-hmm. So look, I'm a firm believer in a number of things, but one of them is the power of relationships. Growing up, my mom was someone who was very strong in valuing relationships. I always say, when my mom is going somewhere, even if it's a short distance, 500 meters, if she meets someone, she's gonna find out a lot about them, a lot about their family, a lot about everything. And I take that trait from her. And if there's anything that, I've learned a lot of things from my mom, but I talk a lot about that just because that's really who I am. The power of relationships, the power of networking. I think you should always be able to go back, to somebody and keep in touch, whether it's on LinkedIn or whatever, or even if it's just a phone call. I think that for me is extremely important. Or even if you should be able to, I've always been somebody who would leave, that impression that even if I'm not in touch with you, Chita, the fact have such a powerful impression when we first met, you'll be able to say, you know what, we're good. We're not in touch, but we're good. It's important. That's very important, so it doesn't mean you're going to call everybody, it's like David, right? We haven't met for a while, but he can tell you that, no, we're good, right? So for me, the power of relationships, the power of keeping that network, the power of, just trying to know that you can actually go back to somebody whenever you need them or they need you, for me, that's very important. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I love all of that, and it's really special that you refer to me by names like Cheetah. I feel like I left an impression. It's a lovely feeling. So I know a lot of people are queuing up to meet you at many events at all times. What things do you remember about the people that you met? What things stand out about people? So when there's a queue of people meeting you for, I don't know, some networking event, the people who stick out to you after the event, what do they do?
Okay, so I think for me, the people who stick, and I always say that, I think it's about, if I'm running a conference, it's about, and I always, when I'm mentoring, I always tell my mentees that, try and ask the first question, try and say something, try and comment. That for me leaves an impression, especially when especially as a woman, it's important that you do that. But even just as an individual, it's also important that I always remember people who kind of spoke out, people who challenged me, people who didn't agree with me, and they told me that. I actually appreciate that, and I remember that very, very much. So like I said, it all goes back to the power of relationships, the power that, you can meet people, and, you can, they were able to leave their impression in their own way, but, it stood out for me. So yeah, I meet different people. I meet those who just want to take selfies. I meet those who just, so I meet different people. But I guess, like yesterday, I met loads of people for the first time when I was running. But there's this young lady, her name is Grace, and she kept talking to me about her family. So it's also about people who bring themselves. So she was talking to me about her 10-year-old, son called Limpo, and she was talking to me about different things. Of all the people I met yesterday, I remember her more, and I remember her story. So she brought her human self, when we met. So it was about her as an individual. So I always remember that. What about me when I meet somebody? How am I gonna, what am I really going to leave behind? Am I going to be like a Grace, or will I be like anybody else who was just statistical? I can't even remember their name. So I think for me that's important. Be human when you meet somebody, and those for me leave a very big impression on me. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'd like to, I think, remind the audience that if you have questions, feel free to, send them to me through the chat, and I'll be able to ask Mizinga your questions, and then in a little while, open it up a little bit, but feel free to send your questions through the chat. We did have a question come through from the audience, Mizinga, that says, could you share examples of your best and worst first impression?
That's a great question. I think a great first impression is like just yesterday, the lady that I shared already, Grace. Mm-hmm. I think for me that was a great one. And just to talk a little bit more about her, like I can recite all her story. It was about her who had helped somebody at the accident scene, and the son is only 10. And she also told me another funny story about how she woke up at 02 in the morning, and she had a fire, almost like smoke everywhere in the house. But she realized that the maid had left a bucket of millimie on the stove. I was laughing the whole day. I'm like, who does that? But but for me, that was a great impression because it was human, right? It was human. We all do, and we're able to tell that. But I guess the worst first impression for me is somebody who we're having a Zoom meeting like we are now, and they show up in a like ragged t-shirt, and I'm like, no, like, okay, you could have done that, but you could have made a little bit more effort. So it's like one of those, like, and I'm like, so it's also how you show up. I think that's for me is very, very important. But at the end of the day, I think everybody has an impression, and I think everybody has a good first impression, and it's all in the eyes of who's seeing more than anything else. I mean, Bill Gates shows up like that, and he's in the right, and it works. So yeah. It just depends. Is it
right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting a lot of interest on your career, and some of the questions are around, how did you decide to pursue a career in finance, and what motivated you to kind of stay with it and grow in that field?
Okay, so it's in finance, but mainstream banking, right? So I am actually a banker. I always say there are so many people who work in the bank and they do different things, but I'm actually a very a qualified banker who was trained to from the very beginning of what is banking and everything else. So I guess that's why I've stayed in banking, and even when I've tried to branch off and do other things, I've still ended up in banking, because when somebody reads my CV, they're like, which bank do you want? I'm like, no, I'm trying to do something else. I've tried and it hasn't worked, because they kind of take me back to banking. So I even tried to do my, trying to see maybe I can diversify my knowledge and be able to do other things, but I've kind of stayed in banking. But just to answer the question, I've told this story before many, many times. A lot of you have heard it before. I started as a nurse. So I didn't start as a banker. I started as a nurse. I consider myself an unqualified nurse, because, I actually went into college for about 18 to 24 months to study nursing. And nursing in Zambia doesn't take very long. As 18 months, you can actually be an enrolled nurse. And, if it goes to 36 months, then you can be a registered nurse. So I actually learned as much as to be a registered, an enrolled nurse. But then I failed. And I truly, truly, truly failed. So where you write exams and you're told that you can't go on because you have failed. And then they give me an opportunity to rewrite, and I still failed. So I always talk about how I as a nurse. And the only other thing that I could do was, at the time, was look for a job. So I so happened to get a job in a bank, and as a clerk, where I was really entry-level clerk, doing debits and credits, just really not doing very much in the bank, waiting for time to knock off and, balance, and I'm going. So then we agreed with my family that it was important for me to go and study my banking degree. So I left the bank to go and study, which is what I went to do. And when I qualified, I came back, to the bank, Standard Chartered then. And that's when I started. So I haven't left. I've been in the banking sector forever. Yeah. So, and I've stayed there just because I guess what I know, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what I know. So, yeah.
No, I love that. You found something that worked, and you invested, you doubled down on it, and now you're CEO level. From even just like being here, I know that being CEO of a bank, Standard Chartered no less, is no small feat. And for bank CEOs in the US, most of them are either they become CEOs because they're related to somebody in power, or they went to an Ivy League college and did all these things. And I ask this because I want to acknowledge kind of your hard work and tenacity to get there. How did you manage coming outside of like the boys club that is in line for successorship to be CEO of large banks, and differentiate yourself and get that position and also stay at that level, because you've been at the top of your game for a while now? So how did you make that transition and name for yourself?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Ita. Look, I've been a CEO since 2008, and I haven't done anything else other than being CEO. And, but I've worked for different banks and done different positions. But even before that, I had other big jobs, which were still managing director level, but really running a bank, it's been like that. So for me, I think it's been more, how it's been about hard work. I think there's no substitute for hard work. You can know people, and I think everybody needs a mentor. Everybody needs a sponsor. So in the corporate world, you can't, it's difficult to get to the top without a sponsor. This is somebody who, when they're in the boardroom, they will talk about Chita when you're not there. So that's your sponsor. So they'll be able to say, Chita is great, she interviews very well. In fact, I'm running a session. Maybe, I think if we had to look for somebody who can do it for us, it's gotta be her, because she knew exactly what to do, right? So that's your sponsor. But for you to earn the right to be sponsored, you have to work hard so that you give them something to work with. Otherwise, if you don't give them anything to work with, then you are really being unfair to yourself or them who really believe in you. So because I've always worked hard, so I've worked with David Cutting, and he can vouch for me, because I've always worked hard, it's quite easy for me to get sponsors in the bank, meaning people who will say, you can trust Mizinga with this job, and she will do it because she brings her whole self to the job. Integrity is important. Even when you are doing just something like like, you know, whatever you're doing, integrity becomes extremely important. So I've always been one that for you to be CEO, somebody has to trust the shareholders, the board. They have to trust they will not be there, but you will run their bank as if they were looking at you every minute. So it's a big responsibility. It almost becomes your bank. You need an entrepreneurial spirit, you know, where, you know, what you bring is about trust and knowing that I own this. And even the people that you surround yourself with are people who will feel like, you know what, this is ours. So, for me, that's just what has worked. It's been really a lot of hard work, a lot of bringing my integrity there, and really learning from the past. I failed when I started my career, you know, so because I failed, you know, I know how failure feels like. I know how failure tastes like. And you don't want to go back there because you've tasted it. I say to all the youth, if you failed, it's actually a bonus because you know what it feels like. So you can embrace it and say, I don't want to go back there. And that's me. I always say, come on, I mean, for my kids, right? I don't want to say, Mommy failed as a nurse and she failed as a banker. Hey, no, you know.
Yeah. No, that is great. They say fail dirty and fail fast and you know, keep moving. So I like that anecdote. A question came through and it kind of is spot on. How do you balance owning and being wholly responsible for the bank, your shareholders, your employees, and being a mom, being a philanthropist, and bringing your whole self to every hat that you wear, every job that you have in the different aspects of your life? How do you balance it all?
Yeah, so you know what, balancing is always hard. I think it's not easy. You know, if I tell you my day today, even, you know, just now we were driving very fast. For those of you who know Zambia, we were coming from Milai Lodge for lunch. So I knew I had this big session, but I also know that it's a Saturday. My family expects us to go somewhere special because it's a long weekend here. So I say to them, let's go to Lilai, and it's very far. And I was like really rushing back, you know, to come and do this. There goes the balance. So you have to also be able to bring you have to be passionate in what you do. You've got to love what you do. When you love what you do, balancing becomes easy. But if you don't love what you do, it becomes just hard work. You know, sometimes when I'm working even in the bank, it doesn't feel like work, if you know what I mean. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm going to work now. You know, it just feels like, you know, like it's great, it's fun. I like working with people. You know, I like managing, you know, like it's fun. So you have to get to the point where whatever you're doing, you're so passionate about it and you love it so much that it doesn't feel like work. Then it's easy for you to balance. And family as well, you know, even at home, you know, so that's why like today is a typical day where, you know, we planned in the morning, you know, we planned last night, what are we going to do for this holiday? We're not going away, but let's go somewhere. But then I've also got, you know, this webinar that I'm doing. Guys, is it possible that we can rush right back? You know, so we've had to do that. And that's just what I have to do every day. Yesterday I was busy running and doing that. And so tomorrow is church. So every day is different, but again, it's about just loving what you do.
Yeah. I love that. It sounds like your family are co-CEOs as well. They make sacrifices as well, and it sounds like they agree on what we do as a family. And you have a family calendar. Sounds like a fun time. We have a question here, somewhat around COVID, but also on financial advice. So first, I'd like to start with a COVID question. How has COVID impacted your role as a leader? What things have you had to do differently to remain agile and competitive in the market?
Yeah, so thank you so much. That's a great question. So COVID has really changed me as a leader. I believe COVID has grown me as a leader. I think with COVID, I just think all of us as a leadership team at Absa, we are better leaders because of COVID, you know? So we've learned a lot of lessons. We feel like we're in an MBA 101 leadership. So I think firstly with COVID, I learned to trust. You know, I thought I trusted my team until COVID came, because before COVID, it was difficult for me if somebody says I'm working from home. I'll be like, you know, I'm one who has, you know, I'm at the office by 7:30, you know, and all that. And I expected my team to be the same. I unconsciously expected them to be the same all these years. So talk about trust. You say you trust them, but you can only trust them when you see that they're in the office. COVID taught me that it doesn't have to be like that. Right now, I don't even ask my team, like, where are you? You know, I just say, guys, let's deliver. We're meeting on webinar, and that's it. And so I've learned to trust. I trust my team 101% more than I did before COVID. I think number two, you also just learn to be more human. I think the thing about the corporate world is we become very mechanical in what we're doing. You know, I'm going for this function and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And we leave the human self. You know, we live who we are as human beings, you know, talking about Grace, the lady I spoke to you about yesterday, you know, her human story, you know. So with COVID, I've actually learned that being human is so important. Just finding out about people, just having, let's have coffee on, you know, on Zoom. For me, that's very important. And also growing your leaders. So during this time, you know, we have, you know, my top 50 generals, I call them. You know, we have, I think we've learned more. You know, we've had more leadership lessons than we did before COVID. So there's just so many lessons, and just being able to pick up a call and say, you know, how are you doing? You know, and vice versa. Today, I got a text message on a Saturday afternoon from one of my branch managers, and I was like, wow. And all she said to me is, "Hi, Mizinga, I'm checking on you. I just wanted to tell you that we appreciate you." And I'm like, wow, she didn't have to do, but that felt so good, you know? And imagine if we are, so it just shows we're developing a culture of caring for one another. So that's how leadership has changed for me. And I always say, because of COVID, we are better people, we are better leaders, we appreciate each other more. Yeah, and our clients more.
There's a comment from Ruth Zimbakapansa in the comment box, and she said she met you in 2010 at the UN, and she remembers you being so down to earth. I think her comment as well, as CEO chatting with an assistant, and that always stuck with her. And to the story you just told, I think it's something probably that's part of who you are, right? You've been doing that for a long time, and people know you for it. So it's not going unnoticed. One other, you know, I've had a few questions around this topic. So I want to ask you, Mizinga, as, you know, a Zambian woman, and some of the cultural norms that our culture places on women, right? And the roles that we play to be second to men, right? Submissive. How have you, you know, as someone who brings your full self into everything you do, how have you balanced that self that is part of, you know, or grew up in the Zambian culture, and being an international CEO, right? And working in all these different business arenas? How have you kind of been able to establish yourself as the boss, but also, you know, keep your Zambian woman side to you?
Yeah. So one of the first things that I was asked to do when I took on my first CEO role at Standard Chartered was my head of corporate affairs say, please, can you make sure you buy a golf kit? And because you're going to be playing golf. And I had never played golf before. So for them, you know, they said, you know, you can't be CEO if you don't know how to play golf. It's going to be very hard, because most clients, you meet them on the golf course. I think that's it was very hard. Like I was thinking, really, because I'm imagining, like showing up and trying to chase that little ball. And then, okay, fine. I do that. And I know David Cutting, I think he loves his golf. So I said, look, I'm going to do that. So we bought this golf kit, and it was time for me to say, okay, fine, maybe let me learn before I embarrass myself. And they told me, okay, no, you can only learn on a Wednesday because you have to learn with ladies. I said, okay, fine, I'm going to go for a few lessons. So I did. And I said, well, let's play. Who do I play with? They said, oh, you can only play with ladies on a Wednesday. I said, well, I thought Wednesdays is for ladies to learn. They said, no, even to play, because the men play on Saturdays. So that for me was quite difficult, talking about the culture in the corporate world, because I'm thinking, how am I going to deal with that? So I was very clear to them that I'm not going to play golf. Number one, I don't like it. And number two, I think I'm just going to die on this golf course because it's not who I am. So I'll do what works for me, for the bank. And, I had my own way of meeting clients without necessarily play golf. So, it's always easier to balance when you just do what works for you, as opposed to always do what works for, even if that's what the bank demands of you. And I do write a lot about, the other thing that I did when I first got my job was, my car was labeled, it was saying SCB1, like Standard Chartered Bank 1, meaning if you're a managing director, your car will be 1. If you're the CFO, it will be 2. And I was like, I'm not going to be a moving brand. You know what I mean? Wherever I go, everybody knows that there she goes. So it was a balance between giving up what people view so important to what I view to be important. So for me, just myself and just doing my best works. But for others, you almost have to lift up that flag and say, hey, there I go, I'm the MD.
Yeah.
I actually told them that, please, is it okay if we don't have to brand my car? And we removed it, which was very annoying for my colleagues, because they always thought you aspire to that office because you're going to get this car, which is branded SCB1. So, I've just brought my Zambian woman self to the table, but without giving up what the world expects, but not compromising on who I am. So I'm very big on don't compromise on who you are, and people will love you for that. And I find people comment like Ruth from the UN, 2010, so what does that mean? I'm just myself. It doesn't mean I'll compromise, but I'm not going to play golf if I don't like it. Come on. I mean, we can still run without playing golf if you don't like it. Mm-hmm.
I love that. I think the pressure for women to play golf is alive and well around the globe. So I like that, you stay true to who you are, and you're still, doing an amazing job, even without compromising to take on things that don't bring you joy. I would like to open it up to the audience in a little while, but I want to also congratulate you on your new book that will be coming out in March 2021, Braving the Odds, a memoir on resilience and faith and overcoming. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about, something that you're excited about, that you're excited to share through the book, or things that people might learn from reading the book?
Okay, so Braving the Odds, Chita, it's a book that I've been writing for a year now. Before this, I've been writing this book, and we're gonna bring it to the market soon. But I think we know in terms of pre-marketing. But really, the book is really about my life. It's an autobiography and it's very raw, so to say. It just says it as it is in terms of the journey I've walked. And it also talks about what has not worked in my life, what I could have done better. And it also just talks about how I've risen in the different organizations. And it also brings a big piece about the woman in the working place, the woman as a mother. You know, it talks a lot about how you missed appointments because people felt I was too young, how I missed appointments because people felt I wasn't ready because I didn't look ready, even if I knew I was ready. So it talks a lot about that. So that's braving the odds, that amidst all that, I think it's relatively easy to get to the top, but it's very difficult to stay at the top. So the book explains how I've been able to just stay at the top amidst you know, the challenging environment. And so it talks a lot about a lot of different challenges. So, you know, it tells a little story about when I was in Tanzania working in a Muslim environment, and I am 110% Christian, and how you have to be conscious of the fact that when you're working with a different, you know, a different religion, how do you behave? You know, how do you manage people who you don't know nothing about when you talk about culture? You know, so that is big, because there are just certain things you don't do in that culture, and there are certain things that are expected of you in that culture. And how do you navigate and still achieve or even fail as well? Because, you know, in that culture, I had a number of that were embarrassing, so to say, for me as well as for the bank, because of the lack of understanding the Muslim culture. So it also talks about culture. Yeah, so that's the book. It's about how you brave the odds and still manage to stay at the top. Mm-hmm.
That's perfect, because a lot of the questions that have been coming to me, like privately, have been a lot about your background, how you brave the odds. So I would encourage everybody sending questions to purchase the book and get the full story directly from Mizinga. So we have about 10 more minutes. I want to be mindful of time, but I want to allow the audience to, if you have a question from Mizinga, get off mute and ask the question directly. And we'll take a few of those before we close.
Hi, everyone. This is Ruth, calling in from Fort Worth, Texas. Hi, Mizinga.
Hi.
I am just piggybacking on Joseph Kaluba's question. I'm not sure if it has already been answered and I missed it, but his question is, does your bank have investment products for people in the diaspora, for example, mortgages? And if so, how can we access them, and how user-friendly are they specifically for people in the diaspora? This is looking at things like, do we need to be present to sign any documents? Do we need to provide a Zambian address? And these are things that sometimes work against us. So is there anything that your bank provides product-wise that works for people in the diaspora?
Okay, no, thank you. Great question. Maureen, are you on the call? So I've got my, one of my senior leaders. Maureen, are you on the call?
Yes, I am. I will.
Great.
Ruth, thank you for that question. I know I was not ready to speak, and I was looking at myself and I was saying, I hope my t-shirt is not ragged, because the first impression for everybody else was going to be on the call. Like, I am Maureen Chishimba, head of customer network. I'm in charge of all the branches in Zambia and the retail business of Absa, which Mizinga is the MD. And recently we were voted the best retail bank in Zambia. And I am part of that senior leadership. Thank you very much, Ruth, for your question. I want to I think when you're looking at mortgages and any other investment that you're doing, there's always that impression when you're looking at it from Zambia to say you can only get access to a product when we see you. For you to get, the mortgage is a second product. You should have had an account with us, and we already identified you as Ruth, and we know that Ruth is our customer and has left the countries in the diaspora, and they're applying for a mortgage, and this is how their income is. And we have your details of what is your source of funds. And Ruth, we already have KYC'd you. So you will write to us. That's why we always recommend to our customers to say, when you are going, please sign an indemnity, because that gives us an opportunity to interact with you via email, to just know that we are dealing with the same person. Yes, we do have those opportunities. And if you want to open an account, we will actually take a step further, because we still need to now to KYC you with a bit more of information. There's a product that we're working on now for purely for the diaspora, that when we bring it on the table, where you will send us more of your details and we'll ask you more questions. Look here, Ruth, when you're not in the country, there are a number of things that we can ask you that the person that is within the country we might not ask, but we really need to identify you and know your source of funds. But that can be done. And I will give you an email address, which is customer service ZM at absa.africa. Just send us an email, give us your details. We'll pick it up from there. We'll give you more details of how you can run the how you can get your mortgage. Mortgage should be the second, but for your account to be specific, and any other investments that you're looking at. And then I saw another question from Shikopa, and I think, let me quickly just answer that one. What are we doing for technology for the young people, the Generation Z that will not come in the branch? We're deliberately and strategically saying we are we're a digitally led bank. And because we're a digitally led bank, there are a number of things that we're doing. You don't need to walk into the branch. As I am speaking to you right now, 80% of our customers utilize our digital channels. What do we do? You've got your mobile app, your mobile money, internet, mobile banking, internet banking, and even when you have any query, where we've got our customer service and our customer service line and their email address, but you can actually also on WhatsApp, we've got what we call a chatbot. On our chatbot, it's a WhatsApp number that you save in your phone, and you ask any question and you'll be answered. Anything to relate with your accounts, anything to do with retail accounts, we are developing it for business banking and corporate banking. But that's how advanced we are, and our people are prepared. As I'm telling you right now, when you walk into an Absa branch in Zambia, you will not take an instruction written on a form to say, I want to move money from account A to account B. We will take you to the computer where we'll show you to say, this is your account, these are your details. We create your credentials if you don't have them, if you're part of the 20% that is not using. And then we say, okay, good. Now, can you transfer money from here to there? While you're doing that, and you have that experience. I mean, look here, I'll tell you, anything before Generation X, they come 3-4 times, but they are learning, and we are actually now pushing our digital utilization in country.
All right, thanks, Maureen. I just have one thing to follow up on. I also work in banking, right? And I've seen like what's happening with the digital transformation. What does that do? This is for both you and Mizinga. Like, what are you doing to upskill your employees? Because obviously they need to have new skills to meet the new technological demands of today, where you have less people walking into a branch to open an account, and most of the interaction you have with your customers is digital.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Maureen, thank you so much for the support, and Maureen works very directly with the team, so I think it's always great to hear from her. We continue to train our people, and like I said, COVID has actually helped us a lot, because during COVID, what we have done is that we have training weeks where we actually do, during a week, we take time to provide different types of training for our colleagues, including self-branding, what it means, to deal with customer services for a client, and just different types of training. So we do that. Maureen, do you want to just comment on the practical aspects on the ground, what you guys are doing?
Oh yes. So what we're doing now is that as the number of customers are reducing in the branch, we have the opportunity now to sell our product, and our core business is to be a financing business. So what we do is that we call our customers, and we've been getting all the colleagues, like every week we're changing. in the bank, you find that there are people who are just used to cashiering. There are people that are just used to speaking to the customer. So we rotate them. You find that today who's doing customer service there, and that's the best way to teach new skills. You get people to get a hands-on. Once they get hands-on, they learn, and we bring more to the front to speak more to the customers online. Sometimes if they're not answering any online calls, online messages, it's calling them. We speak to our customers, we call our customers more. And of course, we are merging our branch networks so that we have a solid, efficient branch where when you walk in, it's all about financial advice that you're getting in there. And we're upskilling a cashier now. There are some cashiers you walk in, when they walked in maybe 2 years ago, they were just counting cash, but today they can sell a product to you. And we're doing that all the time. And as it is right now, some of them, we're moving them to a space where they learn how to just analyze data, because data is key for us to make decisions, because that's the most important. Big data is the big thing. So they look at they pull information, they go through our analytics and they assess for us. And then we say, okay, so now how do we then, where our customers using the products and what our customer needs? So we are upskilling our banking colleagues.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Maureen. So Maureen, all the branches in the country reporting to her, and it was just good for you guys to see who really is on the ground when you want to open an account, and it will be one of her branches. Yeah, over to you, Chita.
Thanks. No, thank you for that. Maureen, can you share the email address in the chat box, because I'm sure this group would like to reach out. We have a lot of questions of people who will be interested in your new product, because they do want to open accounts and want to figure out how to do that from here. We have time for maybe one more question from the audience. Again, the session. I have one. Okay, sure.
All right. You've talked a lot about how to make a great impression, first impression. Switching lanes a little bit, how do you recover from a bad first impression? Do you have any thoughts on that? This is Mukuka Chipanta, engineer, author.
Okay, so Mukuka, let me just give my own example. And I've had a number of bad impressions, bad first impressions. So the practical example, let me just give an example of two very quickly. So I think firstly, I was asked to present. I took on this very big regional role on the continent, and I talk about that in my book. And I was asked at the time, I was asked to speak to maybe about 50 men, and mostly white men, just presenting to them about my business. And the only thing that I did and that was like my first time to present to them, talk about first impressions. So I was actually asked to give this presentation, and all I did was face the slides and read the slides. So I read the slides, and when I finished, they clapped for me like, that was like, you could have done better type. So as I was, my boss was, and David, remember my boss, his name is Gavin Laws. So he asked me, he says, how do you think you did? And I said, well, I think I did okay. And he says, no, all you did was read the slides. So meaning the only impression that they could talk about on me is I read slides as opposed to presenting. So they sent me on a course, a program, and that's my boss. He invested in me. He says, go on a program and learn how to present, learn public speaking, just learn how to show up. So I had to do that for about a week. And the next time I came back, he then asked me now to give a presentation to a bigger audience, which is a global audience. And, it was really great, because then I got a standing ovation. So that was how to recover. It's always, we always have an opportunity to recover, and I know when I went to Tanzania, I talk about the Muslim culture. I was invited for dinner, where we were hosting dinner for the Muslims. I think they were breaking their fast. And I went there showing up in my little red dress, which was really, which wasn't short for me, but it was short for them. And it had hands like this, and that was like such a bad first impression for me, because when I didn't do my research. So for you to have a good first impression, you've got to do your research as well in terms of what type of people are you meeting? What are they expecting of you? How are you going to show up? I didn't do any of that. So, because I just thought the way you show up with Christians is how you show up to Muslims. So I stood there and I was like the main guest giving a speech. And when I finished, and people will not always tell you that you're wearing a ragged t-shirt. They will not tell you that, but it will be in their mind that, you know, it will be, you remember grace as well as you're going to remember somebody else. So yeah, so there what happened was, you know, I had to almost wait for the next time to have another, you know, meeting so that I can dress up, you know, and show people that, you know what, I can actually understand the Muslim culture. So yeah, Mukuka, there go some examples. You just have to work on it and it's fine. You know, it's life, right? First impressions, you don't always get them right because it's about the recipient. It's not about you. So you shouldn't blame yourself too hard. It's about the recipient. Mm-hmm.
Excellent answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mizinga. I know we're on time and I know you have a lot going on, so I want to be respectful of your time. I also want to thank Maureen for sharing not only her customer service number, but her personal email. So if people, I just got a message about collaborating with Absa to do more investment opportunities. So please reach out to Maureen. You have a personal email. So I don't think that's something she shares all the time. So we're a lucky few that have that. So definitely reach out to her and continue the conversation about, you know, investing and, you know, doing business with Absa Bank. But thank you so much, Mizinga. I'd like to invite Frida. Frida, do you have any remarks before we, you know, close the session?
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Mizinga, for taking time out of the long weekend. I just realized Monday's prayer day in Zambia. So most people, like you had mentioned, would have wanted to go away for the weekend. So we really appreciate you joining us on this Saturday afternoon. I just want to say that from my heart, I've experienced her vulnerability in terms of being a leader, but also the way she has left and continues to leave an amazing first impression on everybody that she meets. A couple of things that I want to share is that looking at statistics, it says it takes 7 seconds for somebody to create an impression on you. And whilst you have the lifetime to revisiting that first impression, I think, as you heard from Mizinga, it is a conscious effort. It is not something that just comes about by accident. You have to work at it. You have to think about how are you going to show up and leave that memorable impression on the people that you meet. Doesn't matter whether it's the gardener, whether it's the security guard, or whether it's the CEO, or whether it's the middle manager. It's really around looking at people for who they are and being vulnerable. I mean, somebody just mentioned, wow, as a CEO, she's so vulnerable. But like she said in her video, Mizinga believes in being who she is. She's authentic. And that's something that we like to promote, is the authentic leadership. I just want to share some of the key things that I took away is running. I think there's several runners that are on this call. But guess what? You can run with purpose. So congratulations again, Mizinga, for not only having run the 13.1 miles, half a marathon yesterday, but before that, she had prepped and put in all these other miles to getting to that 13.1. And she's here with us and looking amazing. And yes, we played that BBC video that was from 3 years ago, 2016, 4 years ago, 2016. But as you can see, she refuses to age. She looks in that video. Couple of things is really, I didn't realize she was an undercover nurse, but that goes to the caring, because I always say nurses are the most caring people that I can think about. You know, the doctors, I think Dr. Costa is on, they get to do some special things, but to start out on the nurse track just showcases the care that she has in her heart. And I want to almost think that that is one of the reasons that she's been able to be successful, because she has that caring aspect within herself. 12 years at the top is no small feat, especially at the CEO level. And again, congratulations for being able to navigate turbulent times, COVID-19, being able to lead with an amazing staff. And thank you so much, Maureen, for being on the call with us. I think it's clear to you, Mizinga, and to Maureen, that there is a huge unfulfilled demand from the Zambians and friends of Zambians that are in the diaspora. So I actually am fortunate that I am a client of Absa. I absolutely love it. And for those of you who know me, I wouldn't say I love it if I didn't. I do internet banking all the time. It takes me about 2 or 3 days to change money, to transfer money from my American account to my Zambian account, and I get a decent rate. I think Rodney will remember once when I asked him, how do you send money? Western Union is a ripoff, guys. So become customers of Absa. The one thing that I want to say is that we can tell when people truly love what they do, the ability to balance. They say, how do you work-life balance? It's almost hard to do. But when you love what you do, you figure out how to balance, and your family become as passionate about the things that you do. And when you care, it makes things so much easier. So with that said, I want to also thank those of you who have never been to our Brunch and Learns. We're really trying to change the mindset. We're really trying to showcase excellence. We're really trying to have you all start being proud of who we are as Zambians, raising the flag and doing things that other people don't think are possible. So with that said, I would like to thank each of you for taking time with us. On behalf of Zambians Promoting Leadership in America and the Association of Zambians in Atlanta, Mizinga Melu, thank you so much. Congratulations on your book, and we look forward to being the first buyers of it. And maybe you can help us figure out, we can send you a mailing list, or you tell us how we keep abreast of being able to buy your book, because we really appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you so much to Frida and the team. And just for having me here, I'm just so grateful. And meet all of you guys. David, meet you again. And guys, keep doing what you're doing. We always say, you know, if you have to turn the clock back, we wish somebody had spoken to us when we started being leaders. Then they would have told us how to present, right? That you don't read slides. They would have told us, you know, so it's just great. And to all the youth, just keep doing what you're doing. You're future leaders, and we sincerely appreciate you. So thank you, guys. If you're ever in Zambia, please just give us a call and we'll meet up for drinks. Thank you so much, Frida. Appreciate it. Thanks, Chita. Chita, you're amazing.
Thank you, Mizinga. I've won in life, guys. Thank you so much.
Nice to have Mizinga.
All right.
Good to see you again, and I'm proud of you as always. Say hello to all our friends in Zambia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dave. Very young, by the way. So
thank you.
Lovely to see you, Mizinga. Very proud of you, as always.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I finally got Dr. Costa on. I had introduced you earlier.
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry. I had to go to a clinic. Just as I was signing on, I got a call, emergency call. So I had to just, so I'm in the car, actually, as you can see, you know, unfortunately. But I did hear a lot of the talk, and I was very much inspired, I should say, I think is the word, by Mrs. Melu. I'm a very good friend of her brother-in-law, Bwalia, you know, from back in the day. So I kind of know her through that. And I think, you know, I wish I'd been present for the beginning of the talk, but I'm sure that it's been very inspirational and beneficial to all those that signed on. And I look forward to hearing her speak again sometime in the future. Okay?
Thank you all,
all right,
so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Mizinga, I'm going to make a trip for those drinks. All right. Have a good afternoon, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.